Welcome to video 6 of the Using SEO to Market Your Website video tutorial series. This video picks up from our last video on keywords and focuses on developing an actual strategy for using keywords on your website. And the first step is to figure out which keywords are best for your website. Now, determining this requires you to understand your website, understand your product, and also understand your audience, who you're trying to get to come to your website. Basic marketing strategy. And I mentioned before with the example of the restaurant in Miami that the important point here is quality over quantity. Your objective here is to get the people who are searching for exactly what you have to see your site. And this is where the whole think like you're the customer, think like you're the viewer, think like you're the person searching for what you offer. In other words, what keywords would you use if that's what you were looking for? Remember to be specific. If you were in the market for a car, you wouldn't just search for car dealerships. You'd want to search using keywords that offer you information that's useful. So maybe you'd include the make and model you're looking for and where you live. This would return pages of dealerships in your area. So choosing keywords that specifically identify you is much better than choosing broad keywords that's going to have you competing for listings with thousands and thousands of other sites. So at this point in planning your keyword strategy, you want to be writing down all of these ideas. This will give you a good head start for the next step, which is where we actually research those keywords and keyword phrases and establish our primary keywords and keyword phrases that we're going to be working with as we optimize our website. There are several tools for doing this, and we're going to go over a few of them. The ones we're going to go over are the Google Keyword Finder, Google Trends, and Google Insights. But there's others besides Google, such as WordTracker, which you can find at wordtracker.com, and Yahoo's Search Marketing. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these tools provided by Google. Now, as you're doing this research, you want to record a list of the keywords and keyword phrases that are relative to your website. Take note of synonyms and other common words. For instance, repair, some people often say service instead of repair. So if you're auto repair, a lot of people would say auto servicing. And the key, remember, is not just to look for the words that have the highest search results, but to choose the ones that are the most specific and that describe you best. Otherwise, you're going to be competing with the rest of the internet for the highest search terms. So to start, let's just start with Google, google.com, and suppose we're starting an online paintball store. Simply typing in online paintball store. Now, as we're doing this, you can see some of the terms that are most often searched. Online paintball games, stores, games free. These are things you want to take note of if you see anything else that describes your service. We're doing an online paintball store. And so as you can see, online stores in Canada, stores plural is also an important word. And apparently there's a lot of paintball sales going in Canada that people are searching for. So the next tool we have here is the Google Keyword tool. Now this is part of Google AdWords, which is their advertising service. They developed it so that people purchasing AdWords from them could find the best words to use. So here let's type in the online paintball store and put the confirmation code in. And then we can just get some ideas with this. Now here the results are displayed. You can sort by relevance. There's several sorting features here. You can get numbers for how many searches were performed in a particular month. And you can see additional keywords that you should consider. Now down here, if you were just to use paintball, you can see that there's over 7 million searches just in a single month. So you're probably going to want to get a little more specific than that. For example, paintball guns. This narrows that number down quite substantially. Paintball supplies. This is another good one. So while you're conducting this research, you want to be writing these things down. You want to spend a good amount of time analyzing this. Find out what really works for your product or service. Now, AdWords has recently developed, it's in beta stage, the search-based keyword tool. Now, this is where if your website is already established, or if you want to check out another website, you can actually have Google search that website and come up with keywords. So let's say Art City Paintball is an online paintball store. And we can see some of the keywords that are related to this site that land traffic on artcitypaintball.com. Paintball markers. Markers are another name for paintball gun, so this follows into that synonym example I was talking about earlier. Now, Google Trends is another tool you can use, and this lets you compare search information and statistics on related search terms, or unrelated search terms if you choose. So let's take a look at the difference between paintball store and paintball shop and see how they compare. Separate the two terms by a comma. And here you're given information on these search results for both Paintball Store, which is marked in blue, and Paintball Shop. Now this information is open to interpretation, but an odd thing to notice is that in 2004, Paintball Store was the higher search term. And throughout the years, Paintball Shop has actually grown with Google Trends. And down here you can see how the two compare by region. So in Canada and the US, more people consider the term store, and in countries such as Portugal, UK, Australia, people say shop. So this information can be important. Similarly, there's Google Insights. Google Insights is another great tool provided by Google that allows you to search volume patterns across different regions, categories, and time frames. Here you can enter one or more terms. You can search one to find your information and filter it by what kind of search it is, the region, and what time zone it is, or by category. You can also compare multiple terms by adding a second search term. And we're going to do that now and compare paintball marker and paintball gun. These are two terms that are used to describe the weapon that is used in paintball. So let's click search. And down here we're provided with several statistics. This will help us figure out which region we're trying to market, which region uses that search term the most. We can use time ranges to see if a word has been used more in the past or now, whether a certain term is going out of date. People are calling it something else now. So let's just do paintball marker. And it looks like there's been an overall increase in use of the term marker. So that's just a real quick overview of several of the tools you can use to help develop your keyword strategy. Now remember, you want to spend a good amount of time on this. This is very important. Keywords are what drive your SEO strategy. Everything you do from here is going to depend on these keywords. So be sure to spend a lot of time in figuring out exactly which words your competitors are using, which ones you have the best shot at getting top ranks with, which words you might have not even considered that people use to describe your product. All of this is going to be extremely important. So what are the end results of this keyword strategy, all this research and work we're doing, putting into finding keywords? Well, there's three main results you want to get out of all this. There's what's called your primary keyword phrase and its variations. Second is your secondary keyword phrase and its variations. And finally, an overall outline for where to use these phrases throughout your website. Your primary keyword phrase is the phrase that best describes your website in terms of what the people who will use your website are searching for. Now this phrase is important because when you're adding content to your site, you almost want to subconsciously be hinting at this phrase or using this phrase. So for example, if you're a store, you want a phrase describing your store, you want to say our store ... not our site or here you can find. You want to constantly be saying at our store you can find. It's the primary phrase that you need to really use to drive your content. Now once you come up with your primary keyword phrase, you want to come up with several variations of that phrase. So take that phrase and replace individual words with other related words, and try to get more specific each time. For example, if your primary phrase was professional photography, which is not a good one, but just for example, a good variation of that, if you were in the Atlanta region, would be Atlanta professional photography. Another variation being Atlanta professional photo services. These are keywords that you're going to use throughout your site, but will have less weight than your primary keyword phrase, and we'll get more into that shortly. Next, you want to develop your secondary keyword phrase and its variations. And this is a phrase that basically says the same thing, but isn't searched as often. So for example, when we were looking at the Google applications, we found that people said paintball shop in place of paintball store. So online paintball shop would be an excellent secondary phrase. This says the same thing as online paintball store, but caters to a specific audience that calls shop stores, or vice versa. And secondary keyword phrase variations work the same as the primary. You want to get more specific each time. So a good secondary phrase variation would be online paintball marker shop, for those people who refer to stores as shops and are looking specifically for paintball markers. And finally, you want to come up with an outline for which phrases go where. Now, the general rule of thumb here is that each web page, each page on your website should focus on one primary key phrase or variation and a secondary keyword phrase or variation. Now, your homepage is special. Your homepage should have special emphasis on your primary keyword phrase, your one primary keyword phrase that best describes you. You also want to implement your best secondary keyword phrase with less emphasis to target that audience that uses unique keywords to your homepage. Now, your phrase selection for your homepage is so important. And why is this? Well, it's because your homepage is where the majority of your links in and out come to and from. The keyword phrases on your homepage are what will have the highest weight in determining your overall website ranking. Now, it's good to have your various phrases all together before you plan your site layout. This helps you decide which phrases and which phrase variations will suit each page best. We'll see how website organization plays a role in the use of keywords and keyword phrases in the next video, Organizing Your Website. This completes video 6 of the Using SEO to Market Your Website video tutorial series.